you don't need people coming into the neighborhood and saying, well, this is what you need to do to fix your neighborhood, right? This is what you need. There are assets in that community. There's a narrative, there's a history in that community that needs built. I did some work in one of the most impoverished neighborhoods here, but it was one of the neighborhoods here in Atlanta that was the first land to be given to freed slaves after the Civil War. It was where one of our top historically black colleges and universities was founded, where a lot of the streets are named after former professors. But now it's one of the most impoverished neighborhoods. It's one of the zip codes that most of the felons in Georgia come from. And when you go into the neighborhood, the people are like, oh, we want to change the neighborhood. They often don't look like the people that are indigenous to that neighborhood. When I was there, when I started asking people, well, what's your vision for economic development for this neighborhood? Well, we just need more homeowners. Okay. But how's that going to provide jobs? How are the people who live here going to eat? Because there were no jobs in the area. There was no grocery store near the area. So they're just, because they weren't indigenous to that neighborhood, there was no real vision for what would improve that neighborhood, what would uphold the history of that neighborhood. And so I really feel like if we're really going to have a just and equitable world, like, we really have to increase the capacity building resources around Black and Indigenous people in their own communities. I mean, when we talk about the Indigenous population, there's a long history of boarding schools and, save the man but kill the Indian narrative, that type of thing. That still goes on today. I mean, you look at a group of people who at one point, I think, were like 65 million people in the United States, to now I think it's like, they're like less than 0.5% of the population.
Yeah.
That happens by genocide and murder and stealing and all those things. They're not reproducing anymore. That's not what's happening. There are other things that are happening too. You have Native American reservations in the United States. It's supposed to be the richest country in the world that don't have electricity and running water. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. So, I really want to use media, podcasting, documentaries, whatever digital technology, I can use, even virtual reality, to really expand these stories and get the work out, but also tell the stories of these impact investors that have money to provide solutions and really fund these equitable solutions. Because oftentimes those who are doing the work, they're going to organizations and getting funding that really just want them to just push their agenda, and they're not really looking to fund and really help the solution. And so that's what I'm really trying to address with Consciously Funded, and then telling the story inspires young people, right, to want to start these ventures, inspires young people to get into these organizations and aspire to these executive positions, so we can have more than 10% of executives at the top of these companies.
Okay, yeah, and so talking and correct me if I'm wrong here. So, like, when you talk about, like, I like the example of going into a neighborhood and it's like, well, we need more homes, but you need an overall ecosystem, right? Like, there are these food deserts where there's no grocery store, there's no way of, like, for people to kind of sustain or whatever. It's just a play, like, it's a place for somebody to come in and get a house for cheap and try to make it better, right?
Okay.
Like, make some money off of it. It's not really
Right.
about correcting the area, or the idea of not pushing your own agenda. You're saying, again, don't let me put words in your mouth. Like, it's somebody coming in and saying, there was all the missionaries who went in and tried to convert people to Christianity, which is not really about helping the area out as much as kind of like they had a thing, right?
Right.